Okay, he's basically stacking his chips on day 4 of the main event.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, it's Jeremiah doing it.
Welcome to day 4 of the main event. We look up our table, looks like it's a couple of good players, but luckily we know we're on the corner of the room, which means we're going to break our table soon. Coming in with around 900,000 chips at level 6,000, 12,000. I look down at Jack 8 of diamonds in the hijack, and I raise. Our opponent in the big blind is Vicente Chagall, which is a high stakes regular, and he defends. The flop comes Ace Queen Deuce. This is a range c-bet for me because I just have a lot more stronger aces and stronger ace pairs and hands like that. I bet my standard 30% in this spot, and he calls. The turn is a 10 of diamonds, gives me a flush draw, double gutter, and a lot of equity. He checks. I go for pot bet, which is around 60% of his stack, basically putting him all in. If he wants to go with it with the queen, he could. I definitely can get him to fold better hands. Takes a long time and folds, and boom, we avoided a nice little punt, but it's not like he had many chips, so I wasn't too worried. We're gonna cover a hand that is pretty important because it's the first hand I play on a new table. So you see, I come and sit down. I got this really beautiful lady on my left, very talkative. On her left is Dan Smith. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a fun table. I look down at ace 10 of diamonds under the gun and I raise. And an old man on the button calls. And he actually doesn't realize that I raised. So I think he meant to raise the same amount that I raised. And this is what made it a bit awkward. Flop comes King 9-4, rainbow with 1 diamond. Checks to me. I go for a very large c-bet. And he calls. The turn is the 3 rainbow, and I decided to, punish this guy for what I thought was a mistake. I think he really did mean to raise, so that makes it more likely he has a lot of weak hands here. I go for a big bet, I believe around 80%, and he calls really quick again. And, this is where I'm thinking, all right, this guy calls really quick. He's trying to show strength. He doesn't want me to bet the river. I have a crappy hand. I just moved to the table. He doesn't know me. But in reality, a weird-looking guy with a monkey around his neck shows up to the table and just instantly starts raising and betting. That's what my image really is, and I need to keep that in mind. I didn't realize that. On the river, there was another 3. I just went all in, and he said call before I even finished all in, and he instantly called me with king queen, and I thought I would get him to fold that because they say old people like to fold, but this guy was not going to have any of it with someone with a monkey around his neck, which makes the next hand interesting, because guess what, we have pocket 6s in the small blind, 3 hands after, multi-way pot. Early position raises, button calls, and I call from the small blind, big blind folds. The flop is the ace and the 6 and the deuce. Oh, baby, it's exactly what we want to see. I don't care if you have aces, I'll gladly lose to that. I check. The early position guy bets around 33%, button folds. Now, usually I just call here, but I just moved to the table and blasted off, and I clearly look like a psycho. So I just go for a small raise. I knew this guy is a bit clicky, and I had already played one hand with him where I bet re-raised on the flop against him, and he folded and said he was trying to see where he's at. So I know this guy is capable of clicking. Guess what happens? Our opponent announces all in, and oh boy, I said call faster than the old man said call in that last hand. Trust me, I was excited for this spot. Now I was expecting him to have something, but yeah, I mean, you can, I don't know what happened, but he has Jack 10 offsuit, which, don't do this at home, kids. Or kids, don't watch this video, but adults, don't do this at home. This man just went absolutely psycho for no reason. And he even said, I think I have 0 equity. And then as we're counting out the chips, you can hear him say,
Damn, what a punt.
You're right, sir. That is quite the punt. You can submit that to the NFL Hall of Fame, and I'm 100% sure you would win the Super Bowl. That's how much they would reward you. But we got a lot of chips. We're back to 700,000 really quickly after we punted off half our stack with a bluff. And that's just the start. We are seconds away from the break. I have a lot of chips and I'm on the button with 5-4 suited. Middle position opened to 25,000 at 12,000 big blind. I call on the button because the small blind left her seat before even checking her cards, so there's one less player to worry about, and Dan Smith is in a big blind. We're all very deep, so I can play some of these suited baby connectors. Dan Smith also calls. The flop is the queen 6-4. No diamond, unfortunately. It checks to me. I go for a small bet. I believe I bet around 30,000 into a pot of 90. Dan Smith calls, and our Greek opponent from middle position also calls. The turn is the 8 of spades. We all check, and the river is the 7 of spades. Dan Smith leads on the river for 40,000, which is around 1/4 of the pot. The Greek player in middle position raises to, I believe, 175,000. And I have a straight here, but the backdoor flush got in, and they can both have any queen X of spades, a lot of ace X of spades, and I could still be losing sometimes to 10-9 suited, but I think it's very unlikely. It's more that I'm either chopping or losing to a flush here, and there's still Dan Smith behind to act, which made this extremely complicated. I wasn't sure what to do, to be honest, because I feel like I don't get to fold a straight here. But I had a pretty good feeling that Dan Smith is basically uncapped here, has all the flushes, and he's definitely capable of finding bluffs with the right combos. And if I just call here, it's sort of dead money that makes it really good for him to attack, but he still has to worry about the other opponent. After much thought, I realized that there's no way I can fold this straight here, because I still expect the Greek player to be bluffing enough. He can be bluffing a lot of backdoor hands that did not complete. So let's say he has ace-jack of diamonds on the flop that check called. He can have a lot of pairs with a 1 spade that bluff. He could be turning some ace-4 suited, ace-6 suited, king-6 suited, 7-6 suited into bluffs here. I also thought he might raise worse for value because Dan Smith bets so small, so he might raise a set like pocket 8s or 7s for value. So I really can't fold it straight here. I call, and then Dan Smith also calls. And this is where I was like, okay, there's no way I'm winning the spot. I'm probably at least chopping it. But somehow, I actually scooped the whole thing. Dan Smith had pocket 6s for a set that only check called the flop. And the Greek player turned pocket 10s with a spade into a bluff. And we just scoop a 650,000 pot right before the level ends. And we go into our break with 1.2 million chips. Yeah!
Gotta get out of here. Look at that stack. It's so cool, dude. What the fuck just happened this level?
Yeah. And I'm 5-4, I'm straight. I tank call, and Dan Smith also calls, and I win.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not expect. I thought it was a chop.
That's insane.
Yeah, so
But then Dan Smith called like
he called with 6s. Set. The other guy would turn 10s with a spade into a bluff. And I have a 5-4. Like, I mean, it's such a dream spot. I thought for sure Dan's gonna fold. I'm just gonna always win because I had a pretty good feeling the guy's gonna turn all those hands into bluffs. Okay, we want him.
Yeah.
The final table too.
The hijack had around 40 big blinds to start the hand. I go for a 3-bet, 4x his size, and then the big blind goes all in for 10 big blinds, and it comes back to me, and I call. She has pocket 5s. It's a standard flip. She's been super nice. I honestly didn't mind doubling her up because we were chatting a lot, and I didn't want to have someone else come and ruin the fun vibe on the table. So, given it's just a flip, we let her have it. She won it. It's okay.
Hi guys, we gotta do this because Tom says we gotta update the people on what's going on.
No, not that.
Started with 1,300 and there's 760 left. We're guaranteed 21,000. I got 1 milli and we got a pretty good table, but we got Dan Smith, a real cowboy of a player, on the table. Going into 12K big blind, I'm gonna ride some horses and farm some roosters.
I have black aces under the gun, and I raise. It folds to the button, calls even though he thought he raised. And we have that same goddamn scenario again. Everyone else folds. The flop is queen 10-10. I'm very confused about what the hell to do in these spots because I just never know what to do. Like when someone makes a mistakes here, it just always comes back to backfire. So I bet, and he called. This is really normal when I expect him to have made a mistake and he can have a lot of hands. The turn is at 8. I decide to check, and he checks, which a bit surprising. The river is the king of diamonds, and I honestly felt like I can go for a check raise here for value. I expect a lot of his king, jack, king 9, king queen to always value bet, and I can check raise and get extra value. I think when he checks the turn, we can eliminate a lot of hands that beat me. I block ace jack, which is super important in this case. So I was going for a check raise. Unfortunately, I check and our opponent just goes all in, which was 2 times the pot, and I'm literally just stunned and confused here. Absolutely nothing makes sense. I wasn't sure what the hell this is. This is like another weirdly weird hand. I just looked into the guy's eyes and I'm like, yeah, dude, does this guy look like he's trying to bluff? And honestly, what came to mind was he's tired. He's clearly been making mistakes by not realizing that someone's raising and stuff. I had a feeling he might be just trying to leave, you know, he just wants to finish this tournament, but I couldn't confirm it. And in the end, because I can't confirm that read, I just decided to fold. It's better to, you know, wait and be patient for another situation instead of just making an assumption without any evidence. So I fold, and he actually shows jack 10. So I feel pretty good about it, and once again, I'm pretty annoyed that I lose a pretty big pot against this guy just by him not realizing I'm raising. So maybe next few hands, I'm just going to announce raise loudly, like I'm marking my territory, you know, like you're in a bathroom stall and you're like piss really hard into the toilet, like, yeah, I'm here. The beautiful lady on our left raises under the gun. She's been playing pretty straightforward and mostly showing pretty good hands, nothing too crazy. Folds to the button, who's an American player. He calls to 27,000. I'm in a big blind with ace 4 of diamonds, and I also call. The flop is the ace, deuce, and 10 with 1 diamond. The lady bets 27,000 for 1/3 pot. And in general, what she's done in these situations is that she bets really big when she has a good hand and usually bets small with weaker hands. So when I saw this size, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're probably weak, but some of her weak hands could still be better than mine. The button calls, and I also call with ace 4. Turn is 6 of spades. She checks behind. Now, this is pretty important because every time she's checked, she has lost the pot, pretty much. So every time she checks, she's weak. And the button quickly bets here. On a really bizarre size. He goes for like a 45% size here, which is a very middling size and confusing. It's I think like he should be going either big or just like 33%. All these middle sizes don't accomplish much. I also felt like it's kind of a weak hand that's doing this size, especially that he bets so fast. Felt like he's just trying to attack the fact that the old lady just gives up a lot when she checks. So I look at ace 4. I'm not really happy about it, but I think it's still too strong to fold. I don't really give him a lot of credit for having very strong ace X here, but I also don't think he's going to have a hand like ace 8 and find an instant value bet 3-way when I can still have a lot of 2 pairs and better ace X. So I call. The lady folds. The river is the 4 of spades, so I do improve to my 2 pair. I check, and our opponent goes for a 120% all-in on the river. Now, this is a very difficult spot, and I really wasn't sure what to do. What's very confusing about this hand was a couple hands before, the opponent had the nuts on the river, and he bet 60% instead of going all in for 100% of the pot. And it made me think this is the type of player that changes his sizings just because, you know, he wants to get called more often. And I was thinking the only very strong hands here that he has are most likely going to be flushes only. He's never going to go all in for over pot with a set because I have a lot of flushes in my range. I can have 10 X of spades. I can even have deuce X of spades. So he basically only has king, queen, king, jack, and queen, jack of spades. And sometimes I would say possibly like queen 9 of spades or something like that. But I do find that unlikely. So I had to figure out if I think he has 4 combos of flushes, I need to find a good amount of bluffs. And my read was, if he's going to start bluffing every king queen and king jack offsuit with 1 spade or even no spade, then I need to start calling here, because he's just going to be bluffing too much. I also expected him to sometimes just be turning like some pairs into bluffs. All in all, I felt like I should call, but I spoke to some of my friends and I wasn't 100% sure after I discussed it with them. I did end up calling. Our opponent turns over king 10 of spades and I lose a massive pot. I went down to around 380,000 chips now, when at my peak I had 1.2 million. So unfortunately not a lot of things were going our way. I do think his turn bet was most likely a mistake. It's definitely not a thing because he doesn't ever get me to fold an ace. He does fold all out of hands he dominates that he can actually just check back and get them to catch up while he improves to a flush or a better 2-pair or trips or something like that. Let's say the river's a 10 and I have like 10-8 and he has trips. He has a better kicker, right? So he needs to keep my weakest hands in. I didn't factor in that he would start betting those type of hands. And now that I see that, I guess I should keep that in mind, that sometimes people go for bets when they shouldn't. 10-9 of spades, 10-8 of spades, jack 10 of spades. Those type of hands should never bet here, but he did. So that makes my call actually a million times worse than I thought. And I made the really big mistake here of just feeling emotionally connected to the pot because I rivered 2-pair. But in reality, rivering 2-pair is completely means nothing, because we are up against a polarized range of flushes or nothing. So if the river was like the 5 of diamonds, you know, or sorry, the 5 of spades, it doesn't matter that I have ace-4. Like, it really does not change anything. So that's one thing I know I struggle with sometimes. Like, I'll improve on the river, but it's a card that actually is like does not really change anything, and I just can't find myself letting go of these big hands. My read was wrong. But you know, you got to make some of these moves sometimes, and when you're right, you look like a genius. When you're not, you look like a guy with a monkey around your neck. So, but as you can see, I don't have many chips here, and after we changed tables and watched Dan Smith move away with a lot of our chips and the old man walk away with like millions when he was falling asleep, I go to another table full of absolute sickos. There's not much going on. I'm just trying not to cry. I look down at ace-4 suited, our worst hand, again, with 10 big blinds, and I go all in. And I got kind of like slow rolled because the guy looks at one card, he's like, oh, I'm definitely not calling. And then he looks at his other card, he's like, oh, actually, I'm calling. And he has pocket 6s. It's like, ah, man, come on. Why'd you do that to me? The board breaks out. We don't hit anything. We cashed for 28,000. I had a lot of fun in this tournament. As you know from the other videos, this has been a wild ride. A lot of cool, fun hands.
Walk of shame. I mean, you know, I came here to min cash, so this is better than a min cash. Super proud of this moment.
Yeah.
My mommy and daddy are gonna be super, super excited about this.
Yeah.
Cash is back to back in main event. Oh wait, no.
This is how you bust the main event and go play the $2,000 bounty last second. You know, you got to be really professional and maintain composure and not make mistakes.
I'm very excited for the main event again. I used to always not give it much importance, but I approached it differently this year. I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to create videos and make good content out of it. And honestly, it was a blast. I got to meet a lot of cool people. And I got to be part of the final table rail with Espen, who ended up winning the tournament. That was an unbelievable moment, to be honest. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the series. If you're wondering what I'm up to, well, I'm planning to be back soon in October. I'm going to make more videos, possibly a couple of live stops, Bahamas, EPT London, and ideally a couple of closer tournaments to home. And I'll probably be playing a bit of online and streaming from time to time. So I hope to see you there.
Ah, the hate is coming, I knew it! Sucker! I'm a flush, you donkey! Yes, I get a drink! I get a drink!